For us, it's more about education. To be quite honest, the more you know, the more you grow, right? And I tell people all the time, information is the greatest commodity known to man. And so once you're able to understand, the core competency and strategy of United Way and its ultimate initiative to move the needle for the child well-being, or the families that exist within the communities it serves, and our purpose and our mission to support that initiative versus operating in silos, it is really allowing us as an organization to think holistically. And it's also allowing us to engage partnerships that we traditionally have, historically have not been able to bring to the table. And now we're excited about the partnerships we've created with the Community Foundation of Greater Atlanta or the N.E. Casey Foundation, all efforts that support in a tangible way United Way's ultimate mission. And so it's allowing us to now resonate as an organization and think more strategically about our efforts and how we're engaging with our students and the future leaders of our region. I'll share, we were very fortunate to host our first inaugural Career Expo. We brought in roughly north of 400 students between Clayton, South Fulton County, and Clayton County, and exposed them to roughly 42, 43 corporate partners. And as a result, you had, Hartsfield-Jackson and Aviation Row, you had Kuhn and Nagel, you had all these companies, Delta, participating, and as a result, Dick's Sporting Goods decided, in the moment, to step up and contribute $15,000 between South Fulton and Clayton. And so I think those moments are allowing us to bring partners to the table and have a tangible experience with our students in our communities, and now allowing them to now wake up. Yeah. And so now they're becoming more engaged, and so now we're trying to utilize this momentum to get even more engaged.
Yeah. So for those partnerships that don't step up, like the Dicks of the world, how do you get them to engage and give back?
You got to keep, digging. You got to keep dripping. An email here, a conversation there. Sometimes you have to understand the network of influence. Yeah. And the moment you touch someone within the circle, oftentimes we've found is that it at least resonates and allows them to listen. And that's the first step. Once you engage the listening ear, then it's your opportunity at that point to help them understand and now become engaged, and without forcing them, right? It has to be a willful engagement. And that's what we try to do, set that space.
Awesome. Carol?
I would say that from a corporate, I represent the corporate interests, right? But our owner-operators are boots on the ground in the communities, right, that they serve, in this community as well as others. And so they are connecting with the members of the community, partnering alongside them on a daily basis, inviting them into their volunteer opportunities, inviting them into their give back initiatives. So that's something that I don't want to lose sight of. In addition to the corporate focus, we have all of those owner operators that are working in the community and inviting their customers to serve and give back along with them. From a corporate standpoint, we partner with a number of corporations and other nonprofit entities as well. We invite them along with us when we serve. We have many partnerships. We often partner with the Arthur and Blank Foundation, another hometown organization, with Home Depot, another hometown organization. So in addition to perhaps starting an initiative or trying to lead by example, we are constantly inviting others to come along with us. And I think you'd be surprised that sometimes an organization may not have have a certain initiative as a primary focus, but a simple invitation to join often works. Yeah. And so we do that quite often.
Great, awesome. Well, thank you for that. Next question is for Dr. Looney. Talk about some of the challenges that schools face as it relates to meeting and ensuring children are thriving.
Well, the truth of it is, schools are a microcosm of the community in which they exist. So the same challenges that exist in the broader community are manifested in the schoolhouse. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, in order for a student to even start thinking about growing academically, they have to feel safe and secure. And They have to have their basic needs met. They have to eat and not worry about, violence or some of the emotional stresses that kids have these days. I will say that we live in a very different time where there seems to be a social lack of grit about how do you deal with some of the difficulties of life. And then in school districts with constrained budgets that are focused on academic outcomes, you leverage a lot of resources for the academics and perhaps not enough resources for the emotional and social challenges that students face. And so what we're trying to do in Fulton is to be more purposeful about how do we make sure that we focus on the social emotional needs and the basic needs of our students. The state, as an example, funds one school counselor for every 999 students at the elementary level. Now, a counselor is supposed to help students emotionally and socially and also help them discuss some of the challenges that they face. It's virtually impossible for that to happen. So one is we need to try to get that ratio changed from a funding perspective, but two, we have to figure out how do we enlist other partners, nonprofits that have expertise in that field so that students can thrive when they're in school. We have to figure out how to, not have kids bring guns to school and all that sort of thing. Yesterday we had an incident where one student brought 2 guns to school. Well, for that one student, that's a legal issue now, but more broadly, that created a safety concern for multitudes of students in that school. And so the more that we are able to partner with various entities to take care of those basic needs, then the teachers can focus on their craft. And here's the truth. Teachers are really good at their work. I have yet to be in a classroom in Fulton County where I said, oh my gosh, I wouldn't put my child in that room. I haven't seen that. They're doing the best that they can. We do school really well. What we need is the things that interfere with us doing school well to be managed by other entities. We can't control that. We can only control what's happening. We're trying to get I think I make a point. Yours is dead too.
Okay.
Let me add
Real
to
quick,
that.
Mayor.
Yeah, real quick.
Okay.
Let me add to that. One of the things that one of the young people said was about recognition. You and I have had that conversation many times, Dr. Looney, that we don't tell our story. And in Fulton County Schools, we got to start communicating our story. There's even, and thanks to Milton and all the United Way for doing what they're doing, there are organizations in our community that are doing a fantastic job, but people don't know about. I mean, Reverend Maya Taylor's out there. She has a fantastic organization called South Fulton Arrows. Young people that are doing an outstanding job. And so we have to really, really tell our story. So here's the solution I'm gonna add to you. Years ago, we had something called the Wraparound Collaborative, Diane Matthews knows. And what the Wraparound Collaborative did is that it kind of brought all of these organizations in under one umbrella. And by the way, since Chick-fil-A is up there, I want you to know that you provided lunch for Parent University back then too. So what you had a one-stop shop. Whatever a need was, you could come to the Wraparound Collaborative. You would find Chick-fil-A, you would find Aerotropolis, you would find the state, you would find everybody right there. And so maybe we need to look at something like a collaborative, Wraparound Collaborative to go forward.
Thank you so much. We are running out of time, but I do want to make note of something that Mr. Shannon James said. The more we know, the more we grow, right? The more we know, the more we grow. The more our community knows, parents knows, the kids know, the more they grow. So that's a good nugget to take away amongst many other nuggets. And I know that we have some questions that have been generated from the website that Cameron may have for us. But Cameron, would you come on up and share a few questions with us, please?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So thank you all so much for submitting your questions on Pigeonhole. And so I don't want to keep them on the floor for too long. So we have a few questions that have come in. First of all, we've had multiple people express interest in the training, the technical school for free. Could you share some more information on where they could get more info about that?
Yeah, you can call have them call my office. That's probably the best way to do it. We'll put them directly in touch with the people, and that number is, I'm gonna give you my cell number. It's 678.
Your cell is gonna blow up. You might wanna give the office
No,
number.
I'll give you my cell number because I want to talk to them. 678-428-8067. And
You get that, Cameron?
678-428-8067. And I don't
Got
mind
it?
giving it out.
Okay,
You know,
we'll make sure we get that.
want to talk to people, so that's it.
Thank you.
All right. And on a similar note, earlier it was mentioned that
Somebody's testing me.
So it works. That is the correct number. Very good. Well, we also had some people mention that they were interested in learning more about the schools being open in the summer. We do have quite a few businesses here and agencies that have programs that serve the youth and youth development. So is there anyone that they need to get in touch with, and would that be possible for them to utilize the schools during the off months? And if so, who should they get in touch with?
Certainly, you can contact the school district office. Our school facilities are available for use for organizations and the public, and so we have a process that we go through. I do want to clarify, when I was articulating the schools being open, they certainly are for the type of question that you've gotten, but I was thinking more as we as a school district have space available that could be utilized by our professionals if we could find a way to compensate them and get students back into the building to get them a jump start. So maybe some combination thereof.
Sounds excellent. And earlier, I like that someone brought up the hierarchy of needs. One thing that some people in the audience have been curious about is the children who haven't eaten and are worried about where their next meal is coming from understandably become distracted in school and in turn can fall behind. People were curious if there were any plans to implement free lunches or free lunch programs in South Fulton schools.
Great question. We actually have both. We have free breakfast and free lunch if you qualify under the federal standards. There is another reality though, and that is a lot of students, particularly as they get into adolescence, don't want to have their parents fill out the application for fear of embarrassment. And so the unfortunate reality is as the students matriculate through elementary to middle and high, the number of free and reduced lunch applicants goes down because it's a social stigma that's tied to it. Even though we don't disclose it, it's just the fear of that.
Something else that was mentioned earlier was the need to get the community engaged, and one thing that someone did point out is there are tons of companies and corporations that we see here in South Fulton, but we often see a lot of their support going towards initiatives in the city of Atlanta. How are there ways that we can really engage them with the needs of the community and the needs of South Fulton and get them engaged and be a part of that?
You know, that's a good question because people come here and build their headquarters and things of that nature. They should be a part of the fabric of the community. We can't make them, I wish we could. We can't make them do that, but we need to continue to have the conversation with them as to your responsibility goes farther than just building an office building in South Fulton. Your responsibility goes to what are you going to do in terms of, now that you are in the fabric of the community, what are you going to do to lend support to those things that make us better? And so I think from a government perspective, that's the conversation that we need to have.
Hey, I'd love to add to Mayor's comment, which is spot on. The Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance, we were awarded a CDAP grant, which is allowing us to review the regional land use around South Fulton and Clayton County. And what we're doing, we've partnered with the Annie Casey Foundation, and so we're also educating our planners, our economic development directors, city managers, mayors, when they join us, around what economic inclusion looks like and equity, and it's more about education. And so the more we educate our partners, we feel extremely confident that the strategy will roll over. All right. I guess it doesn't like it. I believe. There we go. All right. That's my song, y'all. All right. So the hope is that the inertia continues to roll over into our partners, and we really start thinking about as development continues to go vertical in our region, we are also putting in strategies that talk about talent development, community benefits, local hiring, becoming more intentional about the activities that are happening that the mayor just spoke to directly. How do you become more intentional? Well, you've got to start figuring out policies that support those initiatives. And so as an organization, we're at the embryonic phase of that, and the hope is over the next 5 to 7 years, we'll see some real activity materialize.
Well, these are some really good questions, and I'm sure we have many more, but we are really narrowing down the time. But thank you so much for answering those questions, and the audience, thank you for sending them out. Now, I really, really hope that you guys will take what you've heard today, affirm or reaffirm your communities to our youth and supporting programs and initiatives that will provide great long-term value to the entire community. This has been an awesome, awesome panelist. Youths, thank you so much. You were drop dead amazing. Thank you so, so much. I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you guys for being with us today. We really want to pour into our communities and our families and children. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to turn it back over to Vanessa, and she's going to come up and give some final words. Thank you guys.